So we were waiting for Turning Point to broadcast their debunking of all of Candace Owens' conspiracy theory claims today when Erika Kirk posted this at the last minute. Candace Owens and I are meeting for a private in-person discussion on Monday, December 15. Candace and I have agreed that public discussions, live streams, and tweets are on hold until after this meeting. I look forward to a productive conversation. Thank you. To what Candace Owens replied, I am very much looking forward to this discussion. So this was really unexpected. I can't deny that I have a bad feeling about this, but while we wait for the outcome, I want to mention, let's say, the outcome of my last couple of videos. One of them being my stance on Candace Owens, and the other one being my body language analysis of Erika Kirk's body language when Candace was brought up. Maybe you already watched both of them, maybe you didn't, but right now I'm going to kind of spoil both of them. Let's start with my stance on Candace Owens. If I had to summarize that video in a single sentence, it would be that, in my opinion, most, if not all, that Candace Owens has done since Charlie Kirk was murdered was in bad faith. Yes, everyone is allowed to ask questions, but her reckless tips have put innocent people in danger, such as the man in maroon shirts the day Charlie was killed. And it's obvious that she has some kind of personal rift with Erika. The glee that Candace displayed when Erika told her to stop the first time was unsettling. So again, in the first 30 seconds of that video, I wanted to be very clear that and tell Candace Owens fans that they were not going to like what I was going to say. And maybe they could save themselves the 25 minutes of video and just jump straight to unsubscribe. No hard feelings whatsoever. I thought that this was going to be a shitstorm of vitriol and mean comments, and I must say that I was wrong. I was pleasantly surprised that even if many people disliked the video, hundreds of people unsubscribed, there were mean comments and ad hominem attacks, but the majority of the comments were positive. In fact, there were fans of Candace Owens who landed on my video. It was the first video they ever watched from my channel, and they liked it? Well, that was unexpected. I'm not gonna say that there were many of them, but there were some of them. And I must say that I was surprised because in previous videos, when I mentioned Candace Owens and say things that, like, I'm not a fan of her, I got pretty heated comments. But well, this turned out to be a positive experience. Whoever wanted to stay, stayed, and whoever wanted to leave, well, left. Then the next day, I decided to analyze Erika Kirk's reaction when she heard Candace Owens' name in a CBS program. And one thing that I really made sure in that analysis was to be completely unbiased and just describe body language, nothing else. It was not until the last 30 seconds of the video that I said something along the lines that Erika Kirk's reaction is understandable if somebody is threatening Charlie's life project, which obviously implies that I support Erika Kirk. And for the sake of clarity, I want to make it really clear that I stand with Erika Kirk. It doesn't mean that I don't think that her actions as current CEO of Turning Point shouldn't be scrutinized. She should be, professionally. In fact, I want to correct an omission in my Candace video that could be subject to misinterpretation. I said that the Turning Point dudes should be subject to scrutiny as any other organization. I should have been more clear and said that Erika obviously should be subject to that professional scrutiny as well. Notice that I emphasized the word professional. This is on purpose because I need to talk about the comments under my video analysis. In all my content making career, I have dealt with all sorts of toxicity, and comments can get really vicious, really fast in some instances. But nothing, and I mean nothing, could prepare me for what I saw in the first couple hours of that video going live. There were the most borderline psychotic people saying that Erika is a literal demon. I mean, I think that was the lightest remark on her. I have never seen something like this. Now, a fraction of my audience claims that I don't allow dissent, but I always invite you to comment in a civilized and polite way. One thing that did not happen with that video. And in all cases, I have always wanted to treat my channels, especially this one, with a sense of community. Now, imagine somebody going to the comments to ask a question about my body language analysis or leave an opinion of Erika, which you're absolutely entitled to, and face a literal wall of batshit crazy comments. That is an instant turn off. That is like imagining Nancy Pelosi in a baby doll. But in all cases, thanks to all of you who, in spite of the wall of batshit crazy comments, still gave your 2 cents in a civilized way, and thank you for that. And yes, some of those comments were critical of Erika Kirk, and that's okay. In fact, to make things even worse, some were attacking me in the comments telling me to leave Erika alone, which, again, I was just doing a body language analysis of her reaction. Maybe I have made my stance a bit more clear in this topic with this video? Now, standing for Erika Kirk doesn't mean that I can't make observations when I think Erika Kirk fumbles something or makes mistakes like in this video. I try to be fair most of the time, and not gonna lie, in just 48 hours, I have blocked more people on X than I have blocked since 2020. Let that sink in. Because yes, I block and mute people who come in bad faith or call me names or criticize me for points that I have thoroughly explained in videos or repeatedly reply to an argument with something that has nothing to do with the argument. And notice that I have repeated the words bad faith many times during this video, because those words are important. Important in the sense that I see way too many spineless people in here not making a stand for what they think is right. Some are using the word feud to name what's going on between Erika Kirk and Candace Owens, which I think is misleading, because usually a feud means that two factions are attacking each other. And in this case, we already know where the attacks have been coming from repeatedly over the past 3 months. And I'm going to add something else to that. I'm going to tell you that the majority of Charlie Kirk murder investigators didn't give a flying fuck about Charlie Kirk while he was alive. In fact, so many of the people that Candace quotes on her show used to openly attack Charlie when he was alive. You might ask me, do you have hard numbers about this, Jesus? Do you have something to support your claims? And I will tell you that I don't know, but I know. In fact, it was revealed to me in a dream. Now, to make sure that you jump to the comments right now and call me a fed, which really wouldn't surprise me, I want to add something to this discussion, and it's Tyler Robinson. It's a recurring joke that Candace Owens has hinted at virtually everyone being implicated in the Charlie Kirk assassination except for Tyler Robinson. And I've gotten angry comments saying that Candace has never implied that Tyler Robinson couldn't be the shooter. And yes, she absolutely has. I'm going to leave a link in the description to a 3-minute video in which she says that the story of Tyler's parents turning him in is phony, that Tyler was bewildered with the accusations, that Tyler had never set foot in the UVU campus, and that it was a stretch to believe that he could have done all that by himself. That last part is the thing I also have some issues believing. I told you a few days ago that I was around 90 or 95% sure that it was Tyler Robinson, but after watching Gary Melton's awesome recaps and interviews on his Paramount Tactical channel, I have to say that my certainty that Tyler Robinson killed Charlie Kirk is now 100%. Which I'm sure will break a lot of people's hearts. You will call me a fed, I told you so, that they got to me. I have never understood what does that they mean in that sentence, or that I'm cashing in $7,000 checks. But well, I made this video to set the record straight. Let me know what you think about this in the comments. My name is Jesus Enrique Rosas. I'm the Body Language Guy. Much love and bliss.